Thank you very much, Carol. Okay. Well, this is a picture here of my good mate and colleague Wilbur, and it's taken in the Sydney office. And my friend Wilbur has a very unique way of dealing with phone scams. See, one day Wilbur got a call, and he got a call from a very excited operator. And it was, hey, you know what, Wilbur? Congratulations, you have won a prize. But to collect this prize, we need your credit card details. We're going to charge a small fee, and then we'll transfer all this money over to you. At which point, my friend Wilbur said, huh? One, I haven't entered a lottery, so why am I getting this prize? And two, since when do I have to give some money to get some money back as a prize? This sounds like a scam. Now, usually my friend Wilbur would hang up, but today he thought, I'm going to play along with this scam. And so my friend Wilbur, he said, you know what? Oh my goodness, I've been waiting for this call all my life. I've never won anything. I enter things and I always lose. But now I'm a winner. This is fantastic. Let me get my credit card details for you. And as he was saying that, he thought, how can I stall? How can I waste this caller's time? What's the longest number I know? So he quickly jumped on Google and typed up, what's the digits of pi? And that's the digits of pi there. And she said, okay, I've got my credit card. Are you ready? Okay, here's the numbers. 3.1415. And the caller goes, excuse me, Wilbur, did you say point? And at which point Wilbur said, yes. My credit card, it has a decimal point on it, you know. So do you want me? I'm reading my card again. And so and the caller goes, oh, okay. So here it is. Are you ready? 3.141592. And my friend Wilbur, he does this for every phone scam he gets. And you know what his record is? He's got to 35 digits of pi before the caller has hung up on him. See, when it comes to scams, they're hilarious and harmless when you spot them from a distance. But what happens when you fall for a scam? I was working on a 10,000 word university project. The deadline was looming and I was under severe stress and my computer was giving me troubles. And then I got a call. It was somebody from Windows who said, we've got some analytics from your system and it tells us that your computer is running slow. Why don't you check it yourself? And I vaguely remember that when I stored Windows so many years ago that I had ticked some box about sharing some data. And so I said, oh, okay, I looked at the system and it looked like there was a problem. And they said, aha, you know what you need to do? You need to download an IT solution. And so I went to the website. I followed the cues that this person was giving me and I started to download this program which was going to fix my computer. And I remember the day, I was so frustrated, my computer was painstakingly slow. And so I bought into the scam. I'll finish that story off later. But the best scams are the ones that we want to be true. It might be a computer that's not working well. Or it may be, anyone fallen for this? You know, the free cash cards from, gift cards from Woolies or JB Hi-Fi or Costco, that if you share it on Facebook, all of a sudden you'll be sent a gift card. I saw many friends fall for that. Or maybe it's, you know what, you can get tickets to the Ed Sheeran concert. It's sold out, but you can buy them if you... Or maybe it's one of the more recent ones, which is you go to a hotel overseas, and you don't want to incur large data costs because roaming costs for data are so expensive. So you jump on the free Wi-Fi when you're sitting by the pool, but actually that free Wi-Fi is a scam. It's been set up. Or maybe it's you want attention from somebody on a very special day. See, the best scams are the ones that we want to be true. Well, welcome to today's lunchtime event. Easter The greatest scam of all, and as Chris introduced me, my name is Mark Leong, and today I'm going to give a 15-minute talk about Easter, and it's going to be followed by a Q&A. We don't have a mobile phone SMS, so after this, feel free to raise your hand, and I'll try my best to answer it. But today's talk is going to be divided into 3 parts. The first part I'm going to say is, why Easter? Why does Easter sound like a scam? The middle part will be why Easter feels like the greatest scam, and the final part of the talk will be busting the scam. And I'm going to answer these questions and lead a discussion on these questions by looking at or retelling the story, the Christian story, which is written for us, outlined for us in the Bible. Remembering that the greatest scams are the ones that we want to be true. So let's go to the first point. Why does Easter sound like a scam? Now, how many of you are into or have watched or are familiar with reality TV? Let's make this a bit... who have you watched? So the person down the back in the white, what have you watched on this screen? What reality TV have you watched? Mandy, isn't it? Yes, I do. Got it right.
Amazing Race.
Amazing Race. Raise your hand if you've watched Amazing Race. A couple of you, yeah? Anybody else want to tell me what reality TV shows have you watched? Everyone's a bit shy now because I've asked someone in the crowd. So I'll just tell you. You know, reality TV, it's now everywhere. You know, thank goodness we now have Netflix where we don't have to put up with this stuff anymore. But before, reality TV, it just started with a small show called Big Brother, wasn't it? That was the start of it. We just shoved all these people under one roof and we watched what happened. But now it's exploded. You have reality TV for talent shows like The Voice or So You Think You Can Dance. You've got cooking ones, My Kitchen Rules and MasterChef. You've got health one, Biggest Loser. You've got building one, The Blocks. And you've got the travel one, Amazing Race. All of these reality TV shows have exploded onto our screens, but they all have one very simple formula that guarantees success. And the simple formula is this. These reality TV shows capture somebody who's ordinary doing extraordinary things. That's why people watch these shows. And when it comes to the Christian faith, the Christian story, it is like reality TV because we see ordinary people doing extraordinary things. The Christian faith is centered around the life story of a person, an ordinary person called Jesus, his teachings, his interactions. The fact that Jesus hung around with people who were marginalised, but told people, those who were leaders, in hypocrisy and called them out, that's just an ordinary person doing extraordinary things. So the real question is, what is the scam of the Christian story? It just seems like reality played out. But the scam comes about, I think, and it sounds like a scam when we focus at Easter. Because at Easter we zoom in, the spotlight is cast to the last few days of Jesus' life, where Jesus was nailed to a cross, nails through his hands and through his feet. He's mocked and berated to his last breath, and then he dies. He's buried in a tomb. But 3 days later, he comes back to life. What? A dead man comes back to life? So you mean there's life after death? But the story doesn't stop there. It goes even further. Jesus comes back to life, but not as a ghost, but people see him. People speak to him. People eat with him. He eats with small people, the larger people, and then hundreds see him. People know Jesus, and Jesus knows him. Jesus even teaches them and promises them that while he's going to leave earth soon, that he's going to come back. And the story ends with Jesus leaving earth as he promised. Now I know what you're thinking. Since when do dead men come back to life? It sounds like a scam. Since when is the life after death, if I can believe that? It's not a ghost life, but a life where you can talk to people, where you can be known and you can know others. Since when? That just sounds ridiculous. Now, I can live with Jesus' teachings, how he interacted with people, but Easter, that here's a man who died and came back to life, that sounds like a scam. And it doesn't just sound like any scam. It sounds like the greatest scam, because remember, the greatest scams are the ones that we want to be true. So why does Easter feel like the greatest scam? Well, because we want Easter to be true. Chris didn't allude to this, but my working life began here at Ernst & Young as a tax consultant. I worked there for 4 years. And I remember within the first month, a parcel arrived on my desk. It was a small box, and it was a business card. It was my first business card, and I was over the moon. I thought, hooray, I finally got a business card. I can hand it out to people. But then I realised no one wanted my business card because I was just a graduate. The business cards of the partners and the managers, they were the ones who were handing out. But it felt like I couldn't even hand these things out for free. It was like no one wanted my business card. So what did I do? Well, I went back to my mum and dad at home and I said, Mum, Dad, will you take my business card? And they said, yes. Okay, so they were the only ones who took my business card. I caught up with some other graduates as well because all of us were in the same boat and we just exchanged business cards so we could feel important. But I know that when I receive a business card, my eyes gravitate to one part of the business card. And it's not the name of the person. Where does it gravitate? It gravitates to the small, maybe 2 or 3 words underneath the person's name. See, we're interested, when you pick up a business card, you're interested in the person's position. Because in those 3 or 4 words, I can know someone's status, someone's influence, someone's power in an organisation. I can understand their significance. And that's the world we work in Monday to Friday, isn't it? Significance is achieved. Significance is guarded, and then significance is asserted. Have you ever seen it happen? Or maybe it's happened to you personally, where someone else's significance has been used as a battering ram to beat you down. You felt put in your place. And maybe you've seen it, or you've experienced it. It's ugly when that happens. Wouldn't it be better then if you could be significant for who you are? That you could have a card just with your name on it, and who cares about the position you occupy? Just your name itself would be enough. Why? Because then the pressure would be off. You wouldn't have to pretend. You wouldn't have to feel threatened. You could just be authentic. You could be just you. And that is why we want Easter to be true, because at Easter, we see the God of the Bible send Jesus to die, not for himself, but for you. And you, just as you are. That's the Easter story. You don't have to be a certain position to grab this God's attention. You don't have to do anything more. You don't have to achieve more. You don't have to work harder. No, this God at Easter comes to you because Jesus died for you, just as you are. Significance is given rather than earned. Significance is given rather than asserted. See, rather than being ugly, this is actually beautiful. Easter is the greatest scam because we want it to be true. We want to have significance and authenticity, and at Easter you get both. But it goes deeper, doesn't it? We want Easter to be true, not just because it changes our working week, but because Easter changed the way we view life and death. Now, I shared before that I have a 3-year-old son, and I've never experienced, thankfully, the death of somebody close. But I can't imagine what these women felt when their 3-year-old daughter and niece was raped and murdered. This happened in Ohio in June this year. And after the death of the man who did this, both women cried out and said, "Death was too easy." In the face of extreme injustice, death can seem like a cop-out solution. We want people to be held accountable. We don't want death to be final for those who are terrorists, those who prey on the vulnerable, those who take advantage. We don't want that. Death is too easy. And for those of us who have experienced death of somebody close, we never want death to be the last word, do we? That all we have are memories We want to be more than just atoms and molecules that happen to come together. Our lives are just random events, and death is just one of those random events. We want to say that there's more to our life than the sum of these deteriorating parts. We want something more after death. And that's why we want Easter to be true, because if Jesus died and came back to life, if he didn't come back as a ghost but could be known by other people and could know other people, then death isn't final. People will be held to account for what they did throughout their whole life because they are known after death. And after death, there's a chance, an invitation that we could be known. There's more on offer even after death. See, Easter is the greatest scam because we want it to be true. We want significance. We want accountability. We want to know that we are more than the sum of our parts, that there is something more than death. So I start off firstly, is Easter a scam? And then I've said, well, is Easter the greatest scam? Now let's move to the final part of the talk. Let's bust the scam. Now I promised that I'd finish my story about the computer. So there I was downloading the computer. Thankfully my internet was painfully slow. I think I was with Telstra or something like that. So the bar was going really, really slowly at the time. And my wife said, hey Mark, why don't you call up your friend, your IT friend, and ask him what on earth is happening? Is this legitimate? And my wife said, okay, while you do that, why don't I look up Google? I'll look up Google and see what's happening. And so I called up my IT friend. We had a landline at the time, so I was on a mobile phone with the scam person. I picked up my landline, I called my IT friend, and it was like, Mark, this is a scam. Hang up right now, stop downloading. And my wife looked at Google, she went onto a government website and said, Mark, this is a scam, you need to stop downloading this right now. And so I quickly hung up the phone and pressed stop to the download button, and I didn't finish downloading it. And I remember being relieved. I remember thinking, geez, I've just been saved. And so when it comes to a scam, how do you know whether a scam is true or not? How do you know whether Easter is true or not? Is it a scam after all? Well, I see 3 avenues, which is where you can test it out. I think the first one is maybe you can just use your own tuition. I think that's our default when it comes to scams. We just think, hey, we just know. And maybe when it comes to Easter, that can be your call. Maybe you just want to leave it at that. I think Easter is a scam and that's enough. But what if it is true? Because I can guarantee you, I haven't been able to outline the whole of Easter story and its implications, but I can guarantee you that in the Easter story, there will be a part that you want to be true. So you can use your own tuition. The next avenue might be you can, like I did, ask a friend. I called a friend, and maybe today you want to see whether the Easter story is a scam. Why don't you ask the friend who brought you, who invited you here? Ask them, what difference does Easter make to their life? Watch them. Ask them. Walk in their shoes. When there are no penalties for insider trading on this. So just take the insider's perspective and see whether this story feels like a scam. Well, finally, you can go to the source. Like my wife, she looked at Google, she found the Australian government scam website, ScamWatch. So for the Easter story, why don't you read a bit of the Bible and see if Jesus' claims stack up? Is Jesus a scam artist, or is he the real deal? You can ask me more about this in question and answer time, but I had a time in my life where I wasn't sure, and I looked into the evidence, I tested it out. I wanted to bust Jesus and say, you are a scam artist, but I found out that no, this actually does stand up. It actually is true. See, is Easter the greatest scam? Yes, it is, because it has things that we want to be true. It offers things that we wish were true. So the question remains, is it true? That's it.
Well, let's open it up to a couple of questions. We might need to be brief as we can.
Sure.
Before we head upstairs, but please.
I'll head up upstairs, so if you want to ask
Yeah.
any questions personally, that's fine. But if there's any questions you have? Yes?
Yeah, I had a question about the last bit you said about going to the source.
Yes?
So going to the source, which is the Bible.
Yes?
It seems like a bit of a secular thing. It's
Yes.
almost like if you want to bust a scam of someone downloading something, you go and ask that person, is it a scam? Of course, he's going to say it's true.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you get around that problem?
Yeah, so I think, so you're going to think the source, I guess here's Jesus, he lives in history, and so there are documents written about them. So just read some of the documents, which happen to be put together in the Bible, and read them and see what they say. Treat it like a hostile witness. It's not a safe book, this is just the recordings of someone's life. And there are 4 accounts of it. That's how they're actually been written. So you can say, hey, and I get maybe there's a bit of bias in them, but whenever you report history, there's always a point to it. So if you're going to say, well, maybe Mark, I'm going to call you out, and that's fair, maybe there is a bit of bias, then you actually go to sources outside the Bible and see what they say. That was part of my process. And you go to actually not just sources outside the Bible, but sources who are hostile to Jesus. So it's in there. So I'm a lawyer by training, so I find this really fascinating. When you're in a court case, if the defendant and the prosecutor, they agree on certain facts, then you actually have a very high, think, no, this has actually happened. Because it's in the best interest of the prosecutor to deny everything, and it's best interest to defend. And that's what I think you get. You look at the sources in the Bible, hey, these seem to be saying one thing, then you look at sources outside, like Roman and Jewish sources, who don't want Jesus to be true. And they concede. Oh yeah, Jesus existed. Yeah, he died on a cross. Yeah, his tomb was empty. You think, hang on, there's a lot corroborating. And I think that's the process where you move on from how does this message change me to whether this message actually is true or not. Yeah, so that would be part of the answer. Not complete, but that's how I started, and that was one of the things that convinced me.
Any other questions in this room? If there's any questions from,
Yeah,
oh,
Mandy.
there we go.
How has, so you mentioned you've been through that own discovery process, so
Yeah.
can you share like how has, after knowing Jesus, how has it changed you and your life?
Yeah, oh boy, you ask them and then you ask me, that's well played, Mandy, I put you on the spot, you put me. Yeah, I think Jesus has changed me radically. One, let me tease out some examples. Because significance is given to me rather than asserted, I'm really comfortable in my own skin now. I don't feel like I have to prop up my self-esteem by pushing somebody else down, because it's no longer a competition. I'm actually loved and known by God for just being Mark. Not Mark because I happen to be Sydney director, not just Mark because I'm a dad, just Mark. And that is one of the most liberating things in your life. It affects me, I think, the way I do my work, so I'm happy now to receive criticism. I don't feel threatened by it. So when sometimes in the past when I didn't get this, when someone criticised me, it felt like they were attacking my position and I had to defend and assert myself. But no, actually this person is just criticising me because maybe I did a good job. I'm open to listen more. And in actual fact, then I still do stand up for things, so I'm not a walk in the, people just walk over, but the way I do it is different. It's not from I'm defensive and threatened, but actually, no, I think this is my call because this is the position I occupy. And I'm glad to make the call, and I'm glad to take the hit if it goes wrong. But do you see, it's no longer that whole competition, no, you have no right to offer an opinion. No, so I think that's how it's changed me, and that's just one example. And I think the fact that Jesus died and rose again to life suggests to me that our purpose is more than just survival. Our purpose, there is joy, hope, there's forgiveness, there's peace. I think all of this stuff comes in as you unpack the Easter story, because it tells me that we are more than just molecules having to bumping around in this universe. And I think that's wonderful.
Well, please join me in thanking Mark.